Alright, so this morning we're going to take a look at some of the LHUD components and identify them with proper terminology. There's a couple other things in Classroom that you can study. Those were pieces that I found on the internet, so they're really close to what we used in class, but they're not the exact same. So I'm just going to run through a couple of the things that are different, carburetor, and a couple other components that look a bit different. Alright, just a couple of different components here that aren't exactly the same as the study guides that I've given you. So this is our head gasket. This is what's going to seal our head to our cylinder. And then this tiny little guy here is our flywheel key. This keeps our flywheel from shifting. On the particular motor that we're working on, we have a carburetor. This is actually a VacuJet carburetor that's mounted on the top of the fuel tank. The reason this is called a VacuJet is it vacuums the fuel up from the tank using vacuum to pull that into the combustion chamber. So this is the carburetor. It looks a little bit different in the study materials that I gave. I wanted to point that out. So right here is your camshaft, and on this camshaft there are two cam lobes. These lobes are these kind of teardrop looking shapes. And these cam lobes, when this cam moves, these lobes actually push up on the tappet, and then in return that pushes up on the valve. This is the tappet, and this is actually what gets pushed up into the bottom of the valve stem and pushes that up. Alright, something else that I want to point out here on our camshaft is you can see it's a little difficult to see, but there is a circular mark here, and this is what we refer to as our timing marks. When we're going to go to insert that into our crankcase, we want to make sure we're matching that circle with the timing mark on our crankshaft. On this crankshaft around, you'll see there's actually a little straight line here on that, and then we want to line the circle on that line up. Also important to note is the gear ratio between these two, and we want to make sure that we understand for each 2 revolutions of our crank, our cam goes around 1, so it's a 2-to-1 ratio. And the reason for that is the cam goes around 1 time, but the crank goes around twice. In that 1 time that the cam rotates, it's moving the valves. Okay, so there are just a couple of things that I explained there that aren't included in the study materials, so you want to pay particular attention to the timing setup marks. You want to make sure you're looking at the ratio between the crank and the cam, and then any of the components I pointed out that are a little different. Otherwise, the study materials that I've given you should prepare you for the evaluation, and it's a matching multiple choice evaluation on components for the LHUD motor.